Everyone, and welcome back to ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo, and of course in conjunction with Blue Hope Big Blue Day. I hope you guys had a lot of fun with the previous session where the panelists and also the moderator discussed on Together We Eradicate Trash, or in Bahasa it says Bersama Membasmi Sampah. So that was pretty insightful, but the session we're having now, it's a whole lot more fun. I wouldn't say a whole lot more fun, but way more festive, I must say. So we are going to be discussing about the world best dive company, and it is, of course, none other than Scuba Junkie, and they're celebrating a special celebration with us today. So without any further ado, let me just introduce to you the three gentlemen of Scuba Junkie. And they are, of course, Ric Owen, the CEO and co-founder of Scuba Junkie. Ric, how about a wave to the audience?
Hi, Nora. Thank you for introducing us.
No worries. And the next one we have is, of course, Rohan Perkins. Rohan is actually a director of Scuba Junkie Komodo in Indonesia. Rohan, how about a wave?
Hello.
Hi. All right. And last but not least, of course, we have him a couple of times in the session, and we are very happy to have him back as well. He is none other than David McCann, Conservation Manager for Scuba Junkie Southeast Asia. Hey Dave, welcome back.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. Okay. So without any further ado, let's get the ball rolling. I'm going to pass the baton to the three gentlemen, and I'll catch up with you a little bit after the whole presentation. See you shortly.
Thank you, Nora. Welcome and good afternoon to our Scuba Junkie webinar. And to all our Malaysian viewers, Selamat Datang dan Selamat Patang. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to Blue Hope and the British High Commission for inviting us to give this webinar. I've been watching all the online discussions and presentations throughout today, and I have to say it's been very interesting indeed, and it's very positive to see that there are so many people committed to protecting the marine environment. Now, our webinar today is to introduce Scuba Junkie and how conservation is at the very core of everything we do and believe in. I'd also like to give you all a quick heads up that at the end of this webinar, we'll be showing you all how you can get a 30% discount off future Scuba Junkie bookings. So please make sure you watch us right to the very end. Our approach is to have beautiful resorts built as environmentally friendly as possible. To provide high quality training and customer service, all our resorts are PADI 5-star, and all our staff, from housekeeping up to instructors and managers, are trained the unique Scuba Junkie way. And of course, we want to offer top-notch diving. We're very privileged to have dive resorts in some of the world's very top dive destinations. Our ethos is to minimize our environmental footprint as much as we can. All our resorts are designed and built with this in mind. And furthermore, all the runnings of our resorts and dive centers are specifically planned and managed to have as little impact on this as possible. For us, it's very important that we give back through conservation and community projects as much as we can. We understood from the very beginning of Scuba Junkie that it's vitally important that dive resorts not only look after the marine environment that we are bringing guests to dive and snorkel in, but to actively help protect and sustain it for generations to come. The local community are our neighbors, and we are guests in their islands. And we at Scuba Junkie have made it a priority to give back to the local community by offering employment, upskilling, and carrying out community projects to assist with their needs as best we can. It's very important to us that local community benefits from dive tourism, as that way they see the importance and benefits of protecting the marine environment and thus becomes one of its protectors. We have many amazing success stories from this. One example is an ex-fisherman changing his whole way of thinking and becoming a dive master with Scuba Junkie, and he was now an honorable wildlife warden. and who for Sabah Wildlife Department, and who now helps protect endangered marine life in the area. These fundamental life changes are needed to be done in order to sustain the marine environment on a local level. And we at Scuba Junkie are very proud to be a catalyst to be able to offer these changes to be made. Our combination of beautiful resorts, high quality training, and our conservation ethos has helped our Scuba Junkie team win numerous awards, which we are very proud of. Here are some of them. Since 2014, we've been a Greenfin's top 10 member, which means we're one of the most environmentally friendly dive operators in the world. In 2017, we won the Dive Operator of the Year from Blue Green due to our conservation initiatives. For the last decade, we've won awards from PADI every year, which we are very, very proud to have achieved. And just recently, we were voted the best dive center and resort in the world for 2020, which of course, we're very, very happy to have won. Thus, hopefully, this helps to show that our formula of beautiful resorts and high quality training, plus top dive sites and minimizing our environmental footprint and giving back via conservation and community projects is a very successful one. We started back in 2004 with a very small dive center in Sampona, 1 boat and 2 staff. Now in 2020, we have 4 5-star PADI dive resorts, 5 dive centers, over 30 boats, and over 200 staff. We've also had the privilege of taking over 100,000 guests diving with us. Over the years, we've met many amazing and interesting people from all over the world. It's been a delight for us to be able to share diving experiences with them, and we look forward to welcoming you to dive with Scuba Junkie, hopefully in the near future. I'll now pass you over to Dave, our conservation manager.
Thanks, Rick, and hello, everyone. I hope you are all keeping well. What's going on with my screen sharing? Share screen. Okay, sorry about that, some technical difficulties. So as you've heard already from one of the co-founders of the company, conservation is at the core of Scuba Junkie's business model, and this actually led to the establishment of Scuba Junkie Seas, the dedicated conservation arm of the company back in 2009. And over the next 30 minutes, I'd like to introduce you to some of our practices and policies, as well as some of the conservation and community projects that we've developed and launched over the years. So first and foremost, we focus on minimizing our environmental footprint. And this starts at the earliest stages of planning, right through to the construction and operation phases. And it's something that's continually monitored and reviewed to ensure that we can improve as and when new technologies or best practices become available. So in many of the remote locations where we're fortunate enough to have resorts, there's very little in the way of centralized waste management services and facilities. In fact, there's very little centralized provision of power or fresh water. So these are things that we actually need to consider during the planning stage, while also mitigating against any potential threats facing the marine environment. So on this slideshow there, you'll see some of the features that you'll notice at some of the Scuba Junkie resorts. So in the larger resorts, there are European grade A sewage treatment systems. In the smaller resorts, there are septic tanks, and if those resorts grow, then so will the sewage treatment facilities there. All of the resorts where there's a lot of rainwater, we have rainwater catchment, and that provides all of the water supply for the resort. And as you can see there in the bottom, we've also embraced renewable energies. So that kind of starts with solar water heating. And then in Mabel Island, a couple of years ago, we actually installed a system that's capable of powering the entire resort during daylight hours. So there are little kinks still in that technology. So once that's running smoothly, then hopefully that will be something that's transitioned over to the other resorts as well. Also, one of the key policies of the company is to minimize the amount of waste we produce. So this is one of the simplest things that you can do. And this has actually led us to phasing out single-use plastics from our resorts. So where possible, resort supplies are delivered in large, reusable crates. We use biodegradable cleaning products where possible, and they're ordered in large containers that are then used to fill the more attractive, smaller dispensers that we have in the resort. And we don't sell or provide single-use water bottles or straws. Instead, as an alternative, we sell reusable water bottles at cost price and provide free water refills for guests during the duration of their stay. And you did hear that right, the reusable water bottles are sold at cost price. This initiative is not a money-making scheme. It's actually just designed to encourage people to embrace more sustainable practices. And the last image on the slide there that you can see, we also separate our waste streams and upcycle or recycle what we can. On top of this, we have a weekly cleanup policy at all of the resorts. So we try to bring as many people as possible together to remove as much rubbish as we can from the beaches, forests, and reefs that we find around our resorts. And for these efforts, we try to collaborate as much as possible. So we collaborate with local community members, with grassroots community organizations, NGOs, and of course, other dive operators. And we firmly believe in the power of collaboration. Together, we are stronger. And this is a theme that you'll see running throughout the talk, and my part of the talk anyway. And a good example of our collaborative efforts would be our work at the Scuba Junkie Indonesian resorts, working in collaboration with Trash Hero Indonesia. In terms of diving, we actually have our own set of responsible dive practices that are displayed on posters in the resorts. And these practices help us to minimize the adverse environmental impacts that could be caused by irresponsible divers. And actually what we found over the years is that most divers who do have an impact on the reef, whether that's crawling across the corals or harassing marine life, they do that because they actually haven't been taught how to dive properly, they haven't been helped to improve their diving skills, or they're just simply not aware of the impact that they are having. So to overcome this, our posters are informative, and the dive team actually spend a lot of time with the guests, time to actually explain why we have practices in place. They take the time to help divers improve their skills and ultimately help people to become more environmentally conscious divers. As you heard from Ric already, we are a Greenfins member, so that means all of the resorts follow the Greenfins Code of Conduct as well. We also operate a no seafood policy in all of the resorts, and you might be wondering why. It is not because fish are friends. Fish are friends, of course, but the reason for this is that in our locations, we are unable to guarantee that the seafood would come from sustainable sources. So as a result, it would be hypocritical of us as an environmentally responsible dive centre to potentially be supporting overfishing and/or destructive fishing practices. We are in the fortunate position of being able to provide an alternative source of protein for our guests, a luxury that actually is not always available for the coastal communities around the resorts who rely almost exclusively on the surrounding reef for theirs. So it's very important for us that we are not having an impact on the local community's food supply. As you heard from Ric, Scuba Junkie across all of its locations employs more than 200 staff. These staff perform a wide variety of roles from, as you can see on the slide, from office work to housekeeping, working in the kitchen to maintenance and gardening and more. But one of the things that I love most about Scuba Junkie is that there are plenty of opportunities for career development. It is not enough for the company to have people coming in and just staying in the job that they start in. Scuba Junkie provide training for those who are interested. So for example, resort staff are given the opportunity to try diving, and some actually end up completing Scuba Junkie's Dive Master internship program before actually working as paid dive masters for the company. This is a very important program for the company because any divers watching will know it's extremely expensive to become a dive professional. You have to do your open water, advanced open water, EFR, rescue, dive master, and you have to pay a lot of money in order to achieve that. So for a lot of the community members in the villages around our resorts, they simply can't afford to do that training. So to overcome this, Scuba Junkie provides the training as well as paid employment at the end. As well as going through the training, they also actively participate in our conservation activities, and some of them end up actually leading our outreach and engagement programs. So going through this process, not only does it instill a sense of responsibility among all of our staff, but it also fosters a sense of pride and passion. And it helps to develop diving skills and marine life knowledge that is second to none. And many of these guys who go through this training actually go on to become the most sought after dive guides in the company. For those of you who've been diving with Scuba Junkie before, I'm sure you probably know who I'm talking about. I've just picked a selection of a few of them on the screen here. So I'll just share their stories with you. So Kai Legend up in the top left there, a dive master at Scuba Junkie's Mabel Beach Resort. He started off as the chef's assistant, so pretty much helping to chop and prepare the vegetables, before then joining the internship program. He's now actually one of the most experienced dive guides at Scuba Junkie Mabel. He has incredible eyesight. He's amazing at finding macro life, and he's our resident hammerhead shark whisperer. He's also a reef check eco diver, contributing to conservation efforts, and an honorary wildlife warden working on our turtle conservation efforts. Over on the right-hand side there, you can see Indra and Rama. You might have met them at Scuba Junkie Komodo. They both started off in catering, so Indra working in the bar and Rama working in the restaurant. Both of them have since gone on to become dive masters, and they are regularly requested by repeat guests. And not only that, they are also Scuba Junkie Komodo's official representatives on Trash Hero Komodo. And then down in the bottom left, Dimas, you may have met him actually at a couple of the Scuba Junkie locations. He is an all-round legend, started his career as a non-diver, and he's actually gone on to now become a PADI instructor. He regularly works with the Marine Megafauna Foundation, an NGO in Indonesia, and he actually leads and drives our community outreach efforts on Nusa Penida. So make sure if you ever go to any of the Scuba Junkie locations that you say hi to these guys for me. I could actually go on with more amazing stories like this, but with limited time today, I have better move on. As well as supporting the staff that work for the company, we also try to support the local community that don't work for the company by helping to develop alternative livelihood programs. And a good example of this would be the Mabel Community Market. For any of you who have ever visited Mabel and taken the time to walk around the island, you will have seen a lot of community shops that are selling souvenirs to tourists. And unfortunately, a lot of these souvenirs are sourced from the ocean. Things like corals, shells, shark tooth necklaces, and more. And when we ask why are people doing this, well, the answer is simple. They need to feed their families, and this is the way they support their family. But obviously, in the long term, this overexploitation of the reefs around the island will end up harming everyone, including the local community. So we need viable alternatives. The community needs to provide for their family. So a couple of years ago, we actually had an instructor who knew how to crochet. And so we offered a crochet training workshop to members of the local community who were interested in participating. And the ladies who took part learned the basics. They pretty much learned how to make a circle. And within only a couple of weeks, they were making these incredible alternative souvenirs that you can see on the screen in front of you. So handcrafted marine life like hammerheads and turtles, nudibranchs and corals and so on. And we help to promote and sell these items in the resort. And all the money that is made through the market stays with the family who made the item. So in this instance, rather than being employed by Scuba Junkie, the ladies have actually been empowered to establish their own small enterprises that don't rely on the company and don't rely on ocean exploitation. So this is a win-win situation, a win for the community and a win for the reefs. And also interestingly, the ladies actually have consciously decided not to provide single-use plastic wrappers on their handicrafts. We're always looking for new and innovative ideas for alternative livelihood programs. So if anyone watching has any ideas for programs that could be launched at any of our locations, please do get in touch with us. We don't have all of the answers. Another program that we have that is built around alternatives is our Mabel Turtle Hatchery program that was launched back in 2011. Now, before we launched this program, all turtle nests on Mabel pretty much were being exploited for consumption. Even though turtles were completely protected by law, Mabel is a remote island and turtles nest at night. So the likelihood of being caught is pretty slim. Why are people doing this? Again, they're doing it to feed their families. So rather than relying on enforcement to tackle the problem, we actually saw an opportunity to once again create a win-win situation. A situation that would hopefully encourage the community to throw their support fully behind turtle conservation. And it works like this. Basically, when a community member notices a nesting turtle, they notify our trained staff who have been gazetted by the local government as honorary wildlife wardens. You can see 2 of them on the screen in front of you. Our wardens then attend the nesting, ensure the female is undisturbed before carefully relocating the nest to the safety of our hatchery. Now, you might be wondering, why does the community support this program? The community support the program because we provide a 1,000 ringgit reward for their contribution, for simply notifying us that there is a turtle nesting. And this money can then be used by the community member to support their family instead of consuming turtle eggs. And as you can see from the statistics on the slide, this has proven to be a very successful approach. So over the years, more than 200 nests have been successfully protected, and more than 17,000 baby turtles have been released on the beach in front of the resort. And for anyone who has seen this, you'll agree, I'm sure, that it's a truly unforgettable experience. As well as a lot of money, this project also costs a lot of time and energy, and it wouldn't be possible without the hard work and dedication of our 13 voluntary wardens, who on top of their full-time jobs as dive professionals, often sacrifice their sleep to carry out their turtle duties. And guys, if any of you are watching this today, I cannot thank you enough for the hard work and sacrifices that you make to protect the turtles on Mabel. And at this stage, I'm hopefully going to show you a short video that showcases our Mabel turtle hatchery efforts. I thought this was only fair for those of you who maybe have not had the joy of witnessing baby turtles before. So over to you, ADEX, to show the video. Sorry guys, give me 1 second and I get back to where we need to be on the presentation. Okay, so I'm sure many of you are wondering where the money comes from to support such a program. It is expensive. So far more than 200,000 ringgit has been distributed to the community in return for their support of the program. And for the first 5 years of the program, it was actually fully funded by Scuba Junkie. The company really does put their money where their mouth is. Now, obviously, there are limits to this. So when we started to make plans for a turtle rehabilitation center on the island, we needed to try and free up some capital. And trying to make our current project self-sustaining seemed to be the most obvious solution. And this actually led us to establish the Adopt a Turtle initiative. And basically through this initiative, guests can donate 100 ringgit towards the community reward, and in return, receive an adoption certificate and a hatchery t-shirt. And the costs of this are borne by Scuba Junkie. So basically 10 adoptions covers the community reward for one nest. And pre-COVID, this proved to be a very successful model. Obviously, during COVID, it hasn't really worked out, and we shall see post-COVID how that goes. But pre-COVID, sorry, it did free up money to build and operate the turtle rehabilitation centre that we felt was necessary on Mabel Island. So we call this our Turtle Hospital for short. It was launched back in 2015 in collaboration with the Sabah Wildlife Department's Wildlife Rescue Unit. And this unit is a team of passionate and dedicated volunteer vets, or sorry, not volunteer vets, a team of passionate and dedicated vets and rangers who are responsible for rescuing Sabah's protected wildlife. So these facilities and expertise allow us to rescue sick and injured turtles, provide treatment and rehabilitation before, hopefully, releasing them back to the wild. And as you can see, to date, we have successfully rescued, rehabilitated and released 15 green turtles. These turtles came in for a variety of reasons, from floating syndrome. So this is basically where the turtles internally is full of gas and it's no longer able to dive, meaning it's at high risk of boat strike and also unable to feed or get away from the heat of the sun. We've had turtles come in that have eaten plastics. We've had those that have been entangled in ghost nets, and we've obviously seen boat strike injuries as well. And I just wanted to share with you probably the most incredible rescue story that we've had to date. And that is of a turtle that we affectionately called Scarface. And Scarface came into the centre at the start of December 2018 with what you can see, blunt force trauma to the skull. When the turtle came in, it was extremely weak. And actually the initial prognosis was not very good. We didn't have high hopes that this turtle would make it. But as you can see, when you go through the series of photographs on the slide, Scarface actually did make a full recovery. His skull was put back together again, and roughly 6 months after first coming in, the turtle had made a full recovery and was back on the reefs around Mabel Island. Again, I could share more stories of the turtles we've rescued, but I know time is tight, so I'll move on. Another way that Scuba Junkie contributes to marine conservation is through active and regular participation in citizen science. And we believe that this is something that all dive operators could and should be doing. The dive industry can act as the eyes and ears for the world's reefs. All you have to do is collect simple data while diving and submit this information to global databases. So a good example of this would be our staff and guests at Scuba Junkie's Indonesian dive resorts, who collect and upload photo IDs of the mantas and whale sharks that they regularly encounter on their trips there. So the data is submitted to the wild books, so Manta Matcher for mantas and whaleshark.org for whale sharks. And these global databases are managed by global experts who use the information to improve our understanding of megafauna populations and to help us better understand their movements. So to give you an example of the output of this work, thanks to the database Manta Matcher, we now know that some mantas are actually what we call jet setters, and they move between Nusa Penida and Komodo and back again, while there are others who are residents and they don't go outside of those marine parks. We also actually collect sighting data for a wider array of marine life, and we contribute this information to a website called Dive the Data. And for this, images are not actually required. You're pretty much uploading your logbook along with some environmental data about the conditions during your dive. And this information helps to document what species are found where and monitor for changes that could indicate a potential problem. For example, overexploitation of a particular species. And that information can then be passed on to the relevant authorities, and then hopefully something can be done about it. As well as this, we assist Reef Check Malaysia in carrying out their annual reef health monitoring surveys on the east coast of Sabah. And again, this data helps to identify trends and provides vitally important information that can be used to inform and improve management practices for our reefs. A good example of the importance of monitoring activities would be back towards the end of 2018, when on Mabul, we actually noticed a major crown of thorns sea star outbreak. We immediately notified the local government, and actually within a couple of days, we found ourselves coordinating a collaborative effort involving government, NGOs, and other dive operators to try and tackle this imminent threat. And again, as you can see from the statistic, over the following 10 days, when we had everybody working together, more than 8,000 crown of thorns sea stars were removed from the reefs. So this action ultimately saved a huge portion of the reefs around the island. I mentioned earlier about the importance and effectiveness of collaborative efforts, and this is yet another prime example of how the dive industry can work better together to help protect the ocean. Now, unfortunately, in conservation, we don't always have forewarning. We can't always stop the major threats that are facing our reefs, or maybe we're trying to deal with damage that has happened historically. And in these cases, we have to actually consider habitat restoration efforts. And this is something that we're actively involved in on Mabul and on Nusa Penida. So in Mabul, we are actually trialing the use of corals of opportunity for rehabilitating a nearby area of reef that was actually destroyed by a rogue buoy a year or so ago. While on Nusa Penida, we are working with the Indo-Ocean Project to restore the island's mangrove forests. And we've actually got a small mangrove nursery within the resort. So you can learn more about that if you go and stay at Scuba Junkie Penida. In addition to citizen science projects, we also help to facilitate proper scientific research at our locations. So we basically work with local and international research institutions. We invite the researchers to come and stay at the resort, to use the facilities, the dive equipment and the boats, to get them out to the locations where research is needed. So for example, on the left-hand side there, we have the global fin print study. So we actually hosted the researchers at both of the Scuba Junkie locations in Malaysia. And this study actually involved placing baited remote underwater camera traps in order to attract sharks and rays. And the idea was to improve the knowledge of the diversity and distribution of these species globally. If anyone's interested actually in the results of that work, it was recently published in the scientific journal Nature. Or if you're not really into reading scientific papers, there are actually video clips that were captured as part of that study available on YouTube. Another example, this time from the Indonesian locations for Scuba Junkie, would be us working in close collaboration with the Marine Megafauna Foundation. So over the last couple of years, we've hosted Dr. Alitza Germanoff, who we took out to the reefs around our locations in order for her to collect data during her research into the impacts of microplastics on megafauna. And the final area of our conservation efforts that I would like to touch upon today is that of outreach. So throughout the year and across all Scuba Junkie locations, we engage as many people as possible in marine conservation. So this ranges from local community members to local and international students, government officials and tourists. And we firmly believe that by sharing our passion and raising awareness of the issues, that we can inspire and encourage others to do their part in protecting our oceans. So we work with a large number of schools in all of our locations, and we invite international schools to come and join us as well. And this engagement effort actually led us to developing and launching a series of annual themed week-long events that take place across all of the Scuba Junkie resort locations. So a few examples, we have Shark Week, we have Turtle Week, Marine Week, Whale Shark Week, we even have Manta Week, and some of these have been going on since 2014. So I think in total, to date, we've organized about 20 of these week-long events. And these events really are collaborative celebrations. So we work with a wide variety of NGOs and grassroots organizations coming together to run activities for tourists, community members, and local students. And I've hopefully now got one more video to share with you that showcases one of our recent Shark Week events so that you can see what these are actually all about. Dave. I'm one of the conservation managers here at Scuba Junkie, and this is Kai. Kai is one of the environmental officers here.
Hi, I'm Tommy Show. I'm one of the Marine Conservation Officers with WWF Malaysia. I love sharks because they are greatly misunderstood, but they are very, very necessary for the health of our ecosystems.
So today is Shark Week. Now I'm bringing all my volunteer far away from Sempana to the beach cleanup.
The slideshow again. So hopefully you'll agree these events are really cool, and we do run these events every single year. So if anyone is interested in joining for any of them, make sure that when you're booking a trip with Scuba Junkie that you ask when the next event is taking place, and maybe try and coincide a trip with one of these conservation weeks. Then you can actually see all of our outreach efforts in action. For anyone with a little bit more time on their hands, or somebody who is maybe at the early stages of a career in marine conservation, we actually also offer conservation internships at Scuba Junkie's Mabo Beach. So hopefully you'll agree these events are really good. We do run these events every single year, so if anyone is interested, to make sure that when you're booking a trip with Scuba Junkie, that you ask when the next event. I think we're having some technical difficulties with the sound. So let's try that again. If you like what you've seen and you're interested in learning more about the incredible marine life and habitats that we're working to protect, you want to get some more practical experience in some of the conservation projects that we carry out across our locations, then what you can do is you can come and join one of our dedicated conservation internships. Just to finish up, if you'd like to find out more about our work, you can go to our website. It's www.scubajunkiesseas.org. Or if you'd simply like to follow the progression of our efforts, you can follow us on social media at Facebook and Instagram. And with that, I'll hand you back to Ric, who will tell you a bit more about Scuba Junkie's various locations in Malaysia.
Thanks very much, Dave. Okay, everybody, I would just like to give a short introduction into Sipadan and Mabo Island. First of all, I'd like to give you all a little secret. Sipadan really is as amazing as everybody says it is. Now, Sipadan was formed over thousands of years as living corals grew on top of an extinct volcano. Sipadan is the only volcanic island in Malaysia. Today, the islands plunge over 600 meters straight down to the seafloor. Sipadan lies in the center of the Indo-Pacific Basin, one of the richest marine habitats in the world. Strong currents sweep past the island, making it a converging point for the entire marine food chain. More than 3,000 species of fish and hundreds of coral species have been classified in this ecosystem. Sipadan is highly regarded throughout the dive community as one, if not the best dive destination in the world, and it really does live up to this reputation. Schooling barracuda and jackfish in the thousands, hundreds of bumphead parrotfish, turtles and reef sharks on every dive, and then when you look into the blue, you won't be surprised if a school of hammerhead sharks or a whale shark swims past you. The coral is pristine and picturesque, and the visibility is often more than 30 meters. Now, I've dived Sipadan over thousands of times, and I still get goosebumps before I jump in the water from the excitement of wondering what amazing marine life I'm going to see next. But it's not just Sipadan Island that this area has amazing diving. Just 20 minutes away from Sipadan is an island called Mabo, where we have our resort, and Kapalai next to that. Both islands have some of the world's best macro diving. That's small, rare critters like blue ring octopus, flamboyant cuttlefish, like in the picture in the slide, seahorses, nudibranches, the list goes on and on. Plus you can see juvenile eagle rays, lots of turtles and schooling pelagics, like in the picture here. It's not surprising that a lot of Blue Planet 2 was filmed in this area, for the diving is truly out of this world. To dive Sipadan or Mabo, then you need to stay in our eco resort at Mabo. This is called our Mabo Beach Resort. Here we have rooms to suit all budgets and needs, from VIP rooms with nice private balconies and sea views, to spacious ensuite rooms with aircon, to standard fan rooms with and 4-bedroom dorms. Whatever you need in terms of accommodation, we've got you covered. All meals are included in our packages at our resort, and you can have some food while discussing your dive buddies about the awesome diving that you've seen. Now in this picture, you can see it's buffet food, but this was before COVID. So now with our new COVID SOP in place, all our food is a la carte. After diving, we have 2 bars you can choose to have a drink in, and we offer marine conservation talks going on at least once a week at these bars. We have a very extensive COVID SOP in place, and our commitment to your safety now extends even further with our extra safety measures. Now, you won't just be booking amazing diving and staying in luxury island accommodation and eating amazing food by booking with us. You'll also be helping Scuba Junkie to continue our conservative and community work. So by booking a holiday with us, you'll also be directly helping to look after this amazing area. Now, we are offering viewers exclusive 30% discounts. For more info, all you need to do is email our booking team. But please note, you need to contact us within the next 48 hours. Now we're going to play a quick video on how amazing Mabo and Sipadan really is. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really missing diving at Scuba at the moment. Okay, the second place that we want to talk about is Scuba Junkie Kota Kinabalu. Scuba Junkie Kota Kinabalu, it was set up in the capital city of Sabah. Here we have a dive center and an amazing dive crew based right in the heart of the city. The islands in the KK Marine Park might not be as famous as the well-known big brothers at Sipadan and Mabu, but they also provide some amazing diving. The KK Marine Park is unique as there is not many capital cities in the world where you can go on a 15-minute boat ride and experience top-notch diving. The diving around KK offers some great mackerel and corals, and it's also common to see black-tip reef sharks, rays, and turtles. Conditions are great all year round with very little current and relatively shallow diving. This is a great place to learn to dive or further your dive education, like doing your advanced or your rescue course, or to do a refresher if you haven't dived for a long time. Our Instructor Development Center offers all courses from beginner up to instructor. It's also a great place to go fun diving, and I try to get out there at least once every weekend. So if you're in KK, please come and join us. Another very special part of the islands are the islands itself around KK. They are really, really beautiful, and the beaches are pristine. This makes the surface interval between the dives a real pleasure. Now, if you're interested in diving in KK, please do let us know, and we'll give you a special 30% discount. Just contact our booking team within the next 48 hours. Now, I'm going to play you a quick 1-minute video to show you what the diving in KK is like. And after that, Rohan from Scuba Junkie Indonesia will showcase the amazing diving Scuba Junkie has to offer in Indonesia. Rohan, you have your mute on.
That's better. Can you hear me now? So technical issues on my own part there. All right, thanks, Rick. Yeah, so as Rick said, I'm going to start talking about our 3 locations in Indonesia, and I'm going to start with Komodo, because that's the first resort we built and opened back in 2015. We chose Komodo for obvious reasons. Its reputation precedes itself. It's pretty much one of the most biodiverse marine ecosystems on the planet. The Komodo National Park is located in East Indonesia, and it's about a 1-hour flight from Bali, in between the islands of Sumbawa and Flores. The park itself is very, very big. It's over 1,700 square kilometers, with 3 large main islands being Komodo, Rinca, and Para, and about 25, 26 smaller islands as well. It was actually made a national park because of the Komodo dragons, an endemic species only found in the area. And there's about 2,000 of those left in the wild now. In 1991, the Komodo National Park was actually made a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in 2012, it was nominated or voted as one of the new 7 wonders of nature. So it is a very, very special place. Why is it so biodiverse? Well, it sits in the middle of the Coral Triangle, as do all the Scuba Junkie resorts. And what makes this area so biodiverse is that geographic location. Where it sits from the south, you get very, very cold, very nutrient-rich currents pushing up, fed by the Indian Ocean. And from the north, you get fed much warmer water from the Pacific Ocean. This all melts within the national park and really is the building blocks for this extreme biodiversity. The diving in Komodo National Park is world famous. Basically, as I said, it is considered as one of the most biodiverse marine ecosystems. There's over 1,000 species of reef fish and over 200, 300 species of reef-building coral in the area, as well as invertebrates, rare mammals such as dugong, and of course, big fish such as mantas, cetaceans, dolphins, whales, and so on and so forth. As I said, within the area, because of this current movement, you get lots of different kinds of dive sites. You get pinnacle dive sites, you get drifts, you get sandy bays. And with all these, it basically covers all spectrum of diving. So we get lots of sharks, lots of schooling fish, mantas, dugongs, as I said. And also because of the sandy areas and the mangrove areas, actually Komodo is emerging as one of the best places in Southeast Asia to dive for macro life, as you can see on the slides here as well. So it pretty much has it all. It does what it says on the tin. What Komodo is very, very famous for, and indeed very ecologically important for, is the resident or semi-resident population of mantas, predominantly reef mantas. There's about 1,200 individuals that have been identified in the Komodo National Park, and the whole area is a manta and shark sanctuary. It is not uncommon on any given day within any part of the national park, specifically in the center in dive sites like Malwan and Makassar, and in the south in Manta Ali, to snorkel or dive with 20, 30, 40 mantas at any given time. It really is a unique experience. We see them feeding, we see them in mating trains, and we see them on one of the numerous cleaning stations in the area. Within the park, you probably have heard of some of the most famous dive sites like Batu Belong, Crystal and Castle Rock in the north, and I said the manta cleaning stations in the center and the south. So the resort itself, as I said, we opened that in 2015. We tried to build it in an eco-friendly way as possible. We used a lot of reclaimed wood, and we actually built the resort out of the main town in a really beautiful, secluded bay overlooking the national park. You can walk down the end of our jetty to one of our custom-made dive boats, and if you throw a stone, you pretty much are in the national park. So we're away from the crowds, we're in a secluded nature, and here we're much closer to the dive sites of the national park. So you get up, have your coffee on our restaurant beach area, as you can see here, and you can walk down the end of the jetty and enjoy a brilliant day diving in the Komodo National Park. So what I'm going to do now is just show you a video of Komodo. So the second location I'm going to talk about now is Scuba Junkie Sangalaki. It's the second resort we built in Indonesia, and we opened that on Derawan Island back in 2016. The Derawan Islands, where the resort is located, is in the province of East Kalimantan, and that's in Indonesian Borneo, not so far away actually from the locations in Mabel and Sipadan. And it consists of about 31 stunning tropical islands. Most of the islands are actually uninhabited. They're pristine, as you can see from the photos, pristine white sandy coconut palm beaches. There are actually 2 inhabited islands in the area, and that is Derawan and Maratua. The Derawan Islands, where we have our resort, and all of this area again was in the Coral Triangle, and there has been recorded over 850 species of reef fish in the area, and hundreds of species of coral, invertebrates, and so on. And actually in this area is very, very important because it is the largest green turtle nesting site in Indonesia. And we can regularly see them from our resort and nesting on the beaches all around Derawan Island. So the diving in Sangalaki, one of the brilliant things about the diving in this area is it's pretty much not dived that much. Actually, to see an extra boat or another dive boat when we're out at the dive sites is pretty unique actually. So the location itself, it's not just world-class diving, it's just very, very underdived, which is great for those looking for that unique experience. So some of the most famous dive sites in the area, we have Sangalaki Island, which again has a population of mantas, and they are commonly seen and dived and snorkeled with in that area. And the islands of Kakaban, Maratua, and these islands are well known for their large populations of schooling fish, trevallies, barracuda, large pelagics such as grey reef sharks, white tips. We quite often see thresher sharks there. The occasional hammerhead will pass by, lots of green turtles and phenomenal macro. And then also Derawan Island, where the resort is located. This is amazing for green turtles. There's literally hundreds of them. You can sit on your balcony in the resort and you can see them feeding on the seagrass beds while you have your morning coffee. And it's phenomenal macro there. Brilliant, brilliant for night dives. A couple of other highlights actually in the area. There are 7 what they call jellyfish lakes within Indonesia, and 2 of those are actually within this area. One is actually on Kakaban and one is on Maratua. And these are basically lakes within islands, and you can actually go in your surface intervals, which is a great experience, and you can snorkel with hundreds of these stingless jellyfish. It's a really unique experience. And another unique experience there is the whale sharks that pass through in large numbers in this area. About 20 minutes from the resort, under strict protocols, we can actually go out and snorkel with these whale sharks with up to 5-6 individuals at any given time. So again, another amazing experience in this, in this beautiful area. The resort itself on Derawan is the only resort that Scuba Junkie has out on stilts, actually. And it's just a short flight actually over from Malaysia or from Bali or Jakarta in Indonesia. We have about 8 rooms. We have beautiful lookout areas you can see in the top right there. And from the rooms, balconies, you can, as I said, see turtles. You can see the sunset, enjoy a cold drink. And it's about a 2-minute walk to the end of the jetty to jump on your dive boats to go diving in the morning. And the island is beautiful to walk around. Lots of places, lots of things to see. Lots of juvenile guitar sharks to see in the evening, or guitar rays, I should say. Lots of turtles nesting, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to play a quick promo of Sangalaki. All right, pretty stunning place. The latest addition to Scuba Junkie and Scuba Junkie Indonesia is a resort we opened in 2018 on Nusa Penida. And the beauty about Nusa Penida is not only does it have world-class diving, it's actually definitely the most accessible resort within Indonesia, certainly for international tourists. In fact, just a 45-minute speedboat ride off the east coast of Bali onto the island. Penida is a very underdeveloped island, and as you can see from the pictures here, it basically has these sheer cliffs, amazing lookouts, great areas to drive around when you're not diving. And it's pretty much like Bali must have been 30 years ago. Very underdeveloped, but absolutely stunningly naturally beautiful, both on a terrestrial land perspective and, of course, under the water as well. The diving in Nusa Penida is in a marine protected area, and it's a perfect area both for really experienced fun divers, but also it's a great area for people wanting to do continuing education or beginner courses as well. So it's probably our best area to do those kind of courses. There's all kinds of topography in this area from dive site perspective. We have pinnacles, we have drifts, channels, and all these areas have fantastic coral coverage. And amazing species, from the macro species you can see here, from to big schooling fish, trevallies, Napoleon wrasse, green and hawksbill turtles, and dolphins and eagle rays can quite often be seen on these sites. In the cold season in this area as well, we do get some more rare species or some sort of less encountered species like wobbegong sharks, and again, threshers can be seen around the coast as well. What probably are some of the main attractions in the area for inexperienced and experienced divers? Two things. One is, again, like our other Indonesian locations, we have a good population of manta rays in this area, which are seen all through the year. There's about 800 or so individuals that have been identified in the area, and these can be seen on the south of Penida in Manta Point and Manta Bay. Also, one of the big draws to this area is the mola or sunfish, as you can see in the top left-hand side there. Very strange looking fish, and this is definitely the best place in Indonesia and probably in Southeast Asia to see these on a almost regular basis towards the end, colder months of the year. So a really special species and unique place to see them. The resort itself, as I said, we built this and opened it in 2018 in Desa Ped. It's just a short drive from the harbour where the speedboats come over from Bali. And it's currently the only PADI 5-star resort on Nusa Penida. It's in a strategic location because being in just a few minutes drive from the main area, from the main harbour, we're closer to where the boats leave to go diving, so we can actually get closer to the dive sites and we can get there first before most of the other people get there as well. From the resort, it's a short walk down to the beach. There's plenty of restaurants, bars for you to enjoy the sunset, and of course our own reception area to do your logbooks and sort of relax with the other guests talking about the day. As Rick mentioned earlier, we are offering this exclusive 30% discount to viewers of this webinar. You can simply email us on the website there within the next 48 hours to secure this discount. And if you mention the subject matter Blue Hope, and our team will assist you from there. So now we're going to show a quick promo video of Nusa Penida. Molo is such a weird looking fish. Okay, that's it from Scuba Junkie Indonesia. I believe we are passing back across to Nora, I believe.
Yes, that's right, Rohan. Thank you very much. We do have a couple of questions if we do have a little bit of a time.
Sure.
So, right. So one of the question is, Scuba Junkie have many dive centers, and the locations of this DC are strategically positioned and surrounded by amazing and robust marine biodiversity, or if not in a marine park. Perhaps you can share with us, how do you define what makes a good dive center in the perspective of Scuba Junkie? And also, is there any new locations that you have in the next pipeline?
Okay, I can start with this and then the guys can have a chat. What makes a good dive center? I mean, it's a mixture of many different things. I mean, a good dive center by its essence must be obviously professional, it must be safe, and it must have a good environmental ethos. I mean, obviously, that's our bread and butter. I mean, you know, the dive industry itself isn't protecting, you know, what it sells effectively, then we're not practicing what we preach. So yes, I mean that's what really makes for myself a good dive center. It doesn't really matter where you are. I mean, diving is very, from a personal perspective, you can, lots of people like rec diving, technical diving, cold water, warm water. That's down to the individual. We're lucky enough to have dive centers in some of the most, diverse areas, and obviously we chose those for a reason. But it's more about the dive center, the professionalism, the level of teaching, the quality of the staff, and then of course, as Dave went on about from our conservation wing, putting back into the community and the environment of which we're part of effectively. That's from my perspective anyway. Rick and Dave, do you have anything to add to that?
In terms of the question, are we having any more Scuba Junkies opening? At the moment, we are currently in the process of building a liveaboard for Scuba Junkie Indonesia, and that was meant to be launched early 2021. But obviously, due to COVID, that's been put on hold a little bit. But we're hoping to have that available at the end of 2021 or maybe early 2022. We have to just see how the situation goes over the coming months.
Thank you, Rohan, and also thank you, Rick. And there's one more question. I think specifically for David. Do you have any links or email addresses for people who would like to volunteer for a 3 to 4 weeks on any of your environmental program? How do they go about doing it?
Yeah, I've actually just responded to the question on Facebook. So you can contact us directly. You could email us at scubajunkies@gmail.com, and we can help you to organize that and answer any questions that you may have about further details. If you just want to find out a bit more yourself, you can actually go to the website, and on the website there's a section called Get Involved that explains the various ways that people can support our efforts. And there's a section in there called Internships where people can find out a bit more about the program that we offer. But it would be amazing to have people back again post-COVID times to join our efforts and help us along the way.
Dave, just a short one. Does it have to fulfill 3 to 4 weeks, or could it be somewhere shorter in terms of lead time, like how much they can spend?
Yeah, so we actually have a few different options, running from 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to 4 weeks. And actually what we find is if people are flexible enough time-wise, most people will join for the longer internship because that gives you a chance to get involved in almost all of the projects. And then actually most people stay on and continue to volunteer with us for longer, which is really nice. So it shows that people do enjoy the internship and get a lot out of it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, because for sharing with us these beautiful videos and imageries of the ocean. I think most of us really missed, and especially the one in Komodo is amazing, and the one in Mabu. You just put us on envy. That's all I can say. All right. So I just want to reiterate. There's a promotion that is what do you call this, being shout out to everybody's watching this session. So you simply, what you have to do is simply what do you call this, email to info@scubajunkie.com within the next 48 hours to receive a 30% discount of your dive trip in Scuba Junkie. And also do not forget to check out and like Blue Hope Facebook page as well. Well, on my point of view, I think if you have friends or mates who would like to know more about Scuba Junkie and also the different location, do share this webinar to your friends, and hopefully when like post-COVID period, when things get better, more hopefully next year, we'll be able to see each other real soon, and of course maybe in ADEX in person. So I would like to conclude this, and thank you to Ric Owen, Rohan Perkins, and also David McCann, and thank you for celebrating with us on this platform. The wonderful stuff that you guys do for like with Scuba Junkie. Thank you so much. Any last words you want to say before we say adieu?
Just thank you for having us.
Thanks, Rohan. All right, thank you. That's all. Bye bye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.